small root somewhere there in Bermuda as well. And now there's tentative growth in New Jersey, of all places. So it's a varied background. But, and I'm saying this because I was thinking, how can I introduce this? And I thought, So if I were to ask, what is the essential ingredient? Well, first of all, essential, the word essential means without which the thing is not the thing. Okay? So essential means it's not important. If it's essential, then it means if that is missing, whatever it is no longer that. So with me. So what is the essential ingredient in rice and peas? See? Now, I know rice and peas, yeah, that is actually beans, but I know that. But there's more to that. And it all depends. But I'm Jamaican background. So there's a third nut. Yes, coconut cream. Essential if there's no coconut cream in it. It is just rice and beans. It could be from anywhere. It must have coconut cream in it. Thyme. T-H-Y-M-E. I mean, it takes time too. T-Y-M-E. But you must have time in it too. These are essential. You know, something here that if it's ackee and saltfish. What's the essential ingredient in ackee apart from ackee and the saltfish? What else? Seasoning, what? Like pepper? Tomato? Okay. You see, if any of that is missing, then it would not be the essential, the authentic dish, right? So I'm getting hungry now. I need to come off this. This food track. One last example. What are the essential parts of a car? A car. An engine. Tires. Anything else? Think about what is a car? What makes a car? So gas is not essential because you can have a Tesla and it's still a car. So what makes a car a car? What distinguishes a car from a bicycle? So it has to have a body. Yes, that is essential. It doesn't have to have a roof because you can have a cabriolet. So the roof is not essential, but it has to have some kind of body. What is a car that sets a car apart from horse and carriage? An engine, yes. A car means it's self-propelled. It has the thing that drives it inside of it. It's not being pulled, that means it's a trailer or a carriage, but if it's a car, then the engine is inside of it. So those are the essential parts. Someone said tires? Yeah, but the car, if my tires blow, and if somebody, removed the tires and I was just on my wheels, it would still be a car. But without the wheels, it would no longer be a car. Because wheels are important, are essential, because a car is a means of transport. It moves, it's not a statue. Body, we said that already. So, is it air conditioning essential? No, because without it, the car is still a car. Is the trimming of my seat essential? That's right. Is the steering wheel essential? Yes, you have to have something to otherwise the trip will not last long. Mm-hmm. And brakes. Yeah. But you see now the mirror. I've seen cars drive around. And I also seen cars driving around as if they didn't have mirrors. So you see the difference between what is important, like the AC is important. I mean, not now, but a couple of months ago, it was really, really important. And next year it will be. Now we move into the time of year where the other parts, we move from the blue part over to the red part. And that becomes really important. But it doesn't mean that without it, the car ceases to be a car. So it's important, but it's not essential. And that's what that word means, essential. It's something that has to be there, because without that, whatever we're looking at is no longer it. So rice and peas with no coconut cream in it is just rice and some beans thrown together. In England, we call it coconut cream. All right. And we're in New Jersey, and everybody's happy. And the car has to have an engine in it, whether it's gas-driven, or whether it's electric, or whether it's natural gas, or alcohol, or hydrogen, or whatever you want to use as a fuel. That's important, but that's not essential. So, in Corinth, there was a church. And the church had a problem. And Paul wrote more than one letter to that church with that problem. Many problems. And I think Paul wrote more than 2 letters. Some problems are not solved by just 2 letters. And I think he makes references to this letter somewhere. And that suggests that there's more than the 2 letters, but we have only those 2, and that's quite enough. In his first letter, he's addressing all of these issues. One of the issues was that in Corinth, people believed that it was essential to have certain spiritual gifts to be a Christian. In fact, the Holy Spirit blessed that church with gifts that were supernatural, that were spectacular, and over time, the people in that church came to believe that if you possess some of those gifts, that makes you a better Christian than those that didn't have those gifts, or that they weren't Christian at all. And so Paul has to address this issue of gifts. And in the middle of the letter, starting around chapter 12, Paul is using the illustration of the human body, the example of the human body, as an illustration that in the church there is a multitude of gifts, just like in the human body there's a multitude of parts, and no part can say to another part in the human body that I don't need you. Paul says everything is important, because if the whole body was an eye, you couldn't smell anything, and if the whole body was an ear, then you couldn't walk, or you couldn't eat, or you couldn't see. Equally, no part can look at another part and says, because you're not me, you're no longer part of the body. No part should look at another part and says, I wish I was that, and sadly I'm only this. Paul says, no, all the parts are important, and he means by that the gifts that God has given the church are all important. They are not a hierarchy, that if you have one gift that pushes you up the ladder, as it were, closer to God and beyond the reach of the common people in the pews, and now you are, Paul says, no, don't think that way, because you're not better than everybody else. And nobody who doesn't have some of these more spectacular gifts should say, I wish I had that. No, you're important as well. Paul says that they are part of the body that we treat with special modesty. Nobody can see them. They're really important. So some of the gifts that God gives in His church may not even be seen. Let me pause it for a second. You know what one of the strongest impressions I have from my old church where I grew up as a kid? One of the strongest memories I have of my childhood church in Germany is the smell of the bathroom. I kid you not. That's one of the strongest memories I have. Visitors come to church and they remember the bathrooms. So the people who take care of the bathrooms, although they're never seen, have a ministry that is really important in the church. Because I don't want to have folk walking across, driving back to New York or driving back south and saying, Hackensack, and they sang pretty good, the elder, he was all right. But the bathrooms, man? So I'm saying that there's hospitality, another one. I mean, in this church, right? It's not just important. It's like the gifts that God gave to the church are all important. They are important. But here's the crux. At the end of chapter 12, having talked about the body and then talked about the gifts and then bring it back to the body and saying, we are all connected, and if one part is in pain and the other part, everybody feels it, and if one part is honored, the whole body rejoices. And at the end of chapter 12 in 1 Corinthians, Paul says, but listen, now I want to show you the most excellent way. Now Paul is moving from what is important, discussing whether tongues are more important than prophecy or prophecy is more important than tongues, and he's going to continue that discussion after this little insert where he moves from what is important to what is essential. Remember that difference. Important is okay and is necessary, but if the essential is missing, then the thing we're looking at is no longer the thing. Now I'm showing you the most excellent way. If I spoke in the languages of tongues, of angels, and of humans, but have not love, I am just an echoing gong or crashing cymbal. If I had prophecy and had all knowledge and knew all mystery and have all faith so that I could move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I gave away everything that I own, and then even sacrificed myself so that I could boast, but have not love, it profits me nothing. And here Paul is now showing us the essential ingredient, without which the thing is no longer the thing. So let's look at these 3 verses. There are 3 parts to this sermon, and I'm going to be here 3 times in the next 6 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I'm going to be here. When I saw that on the calendar, I thought, this constellation doesn't happen often. Finally, I can preach a multi-part sermon. And 1 Corinthians 13, which contains these 13 verses of the description of love, is vaguely or can be divided into 3 parts. Hence the 3 sermons. The first part that we look at this morning is verses 1, 2, and 3, where Paul introduces this new element that he hadn't talked about earlier when he talked about gifts and so forth. When he introduces this new element as essential. So he starts out in verse 1 and says, if I had tongues, and he spoke about that earlier, that was one of these spectacular gifts in Corinth, and he will talk about it again in chapter 14, where the people thought that if you have this to speak and understand, then surely you must be closer to God. And those who couldn't, well, they still have to work on it. Paul is saying, if I had this gift, but I don't have love, you see, this formula, if I have this, but don't have love, then this, and the then this is always negative, because if the love is missing, then the thing that we're looking at is no longer the thing. Corinth was in Greece, and Greece, the Greek society in antiquity valued eloquence. If you were able to speak eloquently in Greece, then you were a highly respected person. Paul did this when he visits Athens in Acts chapter, one of those chapters. When he's in Athens, he goes to the marketplace where and Luke describes it, the Athenians, they just hang out there all day to listen to each other, and to listen to other people, and to listen to new ideas. And in that environment, if you were able to speak eloquently, then yeah. And Paul was, until he mentioned the resurrection, then they kind of couldn't quite handle that. But at the beginning, they asked him to come back. They wanted to hear more, as they heard Paul, because Paul was an eloquent speaker. Eloquence was highly valued. And I'm sure that in Corinth, in the church, that was the case also. Paul says, look, if I was able to speak in the most eloquent language of humans, if I was able to enrapture you all now for the next half an hour, so nobody would fall asleep and you would listen and hang on every word that I say. But if I don't have love, we'll come to that in a moment. But it could be more than just human eloquence, because Paul says, if I spoke in the tongues or the languages of angels. So if I had been given a supernatural ability to speak in extraterrestrial languages. In extraterrestrial, I'm not talking about green people who live on Mars. I'm talking about something that is beyond Earth, is not from Earth. Angels are extraterrestrial. That doesn't mean that extraterrestrials that we think of, the Area 51 people are angels. No, I'm talking about something that is not from Earth. If I was able to speak languages that don't originate on Earth. So now we move from eloquence, which is human, which is something that we can all at least try to attain because it is human. But if I went further than it, if God had revealed to me the language of heaven, if I was eloquent even at that level, but don't have love, and now Paul uses two illustrations. I will just be a echoing gong or a clashing cymbal. And when you look at this, the words that Paul is using, remember he's writing to a particular church in Greece. He's writing in Greek, a language that most of us don't speak. And I need a dictionary in my software to help me with that too. He's writing in a language we don't speak to a group of people that no longer exist and live in a time and in a culture that is foreign to us. What does he mean by this? What is the echoing gong and what is the clashing cymbal? I would like to suggest two points on that. Number one, back in the days I used to play drums. I don't have the opportunity anymore quite so much, but in a drum kit, the cymbal is, that round metal thing that when you hit it, it makes a sharp, loud noise. And it's used to emphasize a certain beat, or it's used to emphasize the end or the beginning or the middle of a phrase. It's used for emphasis. But the thing about the cymbal is, it is loud, yes, but it's also very short. Even if you have a cymbal with a long sustain, it won't be there forever. It will die down. And really good crushing cymbals, they don't have a long sustain because you just want to emphasize something really quickly. So maybe Paul had in mind, if I was able to be eloquent and spoke the most beautiful languages on earth and even of heaven, but if I don't have love, then I am as useful as a cymbal that makes noise for just a moment, but then it's gone. In other words, my eloquence would only be as good and as profitable and as beneficial as long as it lasts. As soon as I shut up, like a cymbal, it's gone. Because there's no love. So it could be that. An echoing gong could have referred to certain instruments that were used in antiquity, and it refers to something similar, something that makes a noise, but then stops making that noise. There is another one, and I want to suggest that one too. I found that in a dictionary, in a commentary. So because I'm a pastor, I have to read these things to sound learned and informed. Sometimes it works, so let's see. This is one of those times. There was in Paul's days and in Greece a cult, a religion, a following of a certain deity. You remember in antiquity, in Rome and in Greece, they didn't believe in a single God. Their belief in gods was that there were many gods. And that those gods were very, very similar to human beings, with their foibles and their weaknesses and their backbiting and their gossip and their intriguing and their planning against each other and so forth. So it's almost like they took human society and just projected it into the sky and said, look at our gods. And then, of course, they could do stuff that humans can't do. That's why they were gods. And one of those gods was a female god by the name of Sybil. Sybil's worship was peculiar. It was marked by the louder, the better. You worship this goddess Sybil by making a lot of noise. And like I said, the louder, the better. And if in the process of worshiping this goddess, you lose your mind, literally, you go off the reservation, you lose it in that noise, then you really worship her. And if in that going off and being completely mad, you then become violent and maybe strangle your neighbor or stab your neighbor. I'm not making this up. I read this in the commentary. Then you knew that you're really worshiping her. So the worship of this particular goddess was infamous. It was known, but nobody wanted anything to do with that because those were the crazy people. You go into the temple of Sybil, when they worship, you may not walk out of it. Because when they lose their mind, they probably lose their mind. And in one of these phrases, I can't remember off the top of my head, either the echoing gong or the clashing cymbal. In the Greek, how Paul phrases it, there may be a kind of a parallel that he's trying to draw to this particular cult. And if that is the case, what Paul is saying here is this: I can be as eloquent as the best poet, preacher, philosopher that ever walked the earth. I could be even more eloquent than this and speak in the languages of angels. But if I don't have love, I am as nutty and crazy as the worshippers of this particular goddess. Because if the essential ingredient is missing, then my eloquence is void at best, like a symbol, here now and gone the next moment. Void at best, but if my eloquence doesn't have love, then at worst, I can be as destructive as the crazy worshippers of Sybil. There are people who speak very well, but there's no love. And I'm worried that they are not as neutral as just a symbol. Their effect on many people may be negative, like this goddess Sybil. I think that's spelled with a C, but anyway. So Paul is starting to introduce the essential ingredient to Corinth and to us by using a spiritual gift that they were familiar with and that they had a conflict with, the gift of tongues. Now Paul, in the second verse, is moving on from tongues and says, and if I had prophecy. See, that was the other main gift that the Corinthians had a problem with. They thought that, well, if you were able to prophesy, then you're pretty good, but not as good as the one who speaks in a different language. That's why in chapter 14, Paul has to make sure that the people understand that no, prophecy is actually more important than the different languages, because prophecy gives you information from God, whereas the different languages, if you don't understand it, you just sit there and like, huh? But that's chapter 14, that's not for today. However, in his introduction to the essential ingredient, Paul is moving from tongues to prophecy. And you see, when I studied this for the first time, I looked at it and I thought, you know, when we talk about tongues, and sometimes we talk about the Pentecostal churches and the charismatic movements, and you're like, oh, we're so glad we're not like them crazy charismatic people. You know, nobody here today will fly off the railing and swing from the chandeliers and talk gibberish. No, we're not like this. And then I kept reading, and in verse 2 it was like, oh, if I have, in the Old English, the gift of prophecy. And the gift of is supplied in the English translation, because in Greek it says prophecy. But it's the same thing. And suddenly, what I thought was so far removed from me, because I, a moment ago, looked at charismatic churches, now all of a sudden, Right here. Because who among Christian denominations is more proud of having the spirit of prophecy in our history? Well, to say in our midst, but that would be awkward. That's us. And so suddenly what I thought was far and safely removed from you could look at other people and say, surely not us. Bam, in verse 2, it's right here. If I had prophecy, and if I had all knowledge. You see, our church prides itself, and we have a rich history of studying the Bible and find connections in the Bible across different books and across the divide of the New and the Old Testament. And we found them, and we constructed what my old teacher in the seminary called a beautiful cathedral of thought. It's really quite magnificent. There isn't a lot of other churches that have that. Paul says, if I had prophecy, and if I had all knowledge, knowledge isn't bad. But remember, we're talking about the essential ingredients. Let's move on. If I had all knowledge, and if I knew all mysteries. You know, I mean, who on earth would not want to know the mysteries of God? Who would not want to know what's really behind the curtain, what's really behind the scene, what really goes beneath everything? What's going on, you know, in the shadows? I know there's some people who think they do, and then they produce YouTube videos, and you'll watch them and you're like, yay, I didn't know that. But it would be wonderful to know all mysteries. I mean, I used to be a science student, and I couldn't get a job in science, so that's going to sound bad, so I need to rephrase that. Then the Lord called me into this. So I know the pursuit of knowledge and the finding out of secrets and of mysteries on a scientific level. That's a noble pursuit. Paul says, if I had all knowledge and if I knew all mysteries, if I could interpret every verse in the scripture. And I said that deliberately because, brethren, there are some verses in the scripture that even after 50 years, I still struggle with. And who knows, maybe the Lord will have to take me to the side in the New Jerusalem and says, let me explain this thing to you now. And I said, well, that's fine, you know, better late than never. But I would like to know everything, and I like to be able to dig into every mystery. And Paul says, if that was possible, if you could. And then he moves even further than that. If I had all faith. And he's now talking about a phrase that Paul may have picked up from a disciple or somewhere, because he says, if I had all faith so that I could move mountains. We know that this is a phrase that Paul didn't just come up with. He is mirroring, he's paraphrasing something that Jesus had said during his ministry. In Matthew, in Mark, I can't remember the exact chapter and verse, but there are places in the Gospels where Jesus says, you know, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, get up and throw yourself into the sea. Maybe that's what Paul called at some point, and he says, if I had that kind of faith, so that I could move mountains. So if I had prophecy, if I had all knowledge, if I had knew all mystery and had all faith, these last three all have the same word in Greek in front of them. All, and that, everything. If I had the whole of knowledge, if I knew all of the mysteries, and if I could embrace and possess faith that goes from A to Z, where Burton-Schnüll is G to I. But all faith would be from A to Z or Z. If all of this was in my possession, Paul says, but if I don't love, then I am nothing. Now let's pause for a second. Paul is saying that if you have prophecy, if you could look into the mysteries of God if you were in direct contact with God, get direct revelations from God with messages for people, if you could, and if you want to expand prophecy to the point of if you were giving messages for the future, if you could foretell things, that would be like, wow, what a wonderful person. If on top of that, you now know everything that is to be known, let's just talk about God. And if you could dig into all the mysteries and could explain everything, and on top of that, if you had faith that could move mountains, you walk into the ICU in Hackensack University Hospital, you touch the bed and says, get up! And the person's like, whoa, what just happened? If you had that kind of faith, we would all be like, wow, what a person! Paul says, if you don't have love, you are nothing. I'm not talking about, an elder or a pastor with certain gifts and be like, not bad. No, I'm talking about somebody where even I would be like, oh man, when I grow up, I want to be like that guy or that lady. And Paul says, those are all important things. He's not knocking knowledge. He's not knocking mysteries, looking into that or finding out about that. He's not knocking having prophecy. He's not knocking faith by any means. Of course not. But he says, those are important, but they are not essential, because if love is missing, you are nothing. Nobody. Like the symbols. Here now and gone the next moment. Not an important thing. Started out with tongues. Spectacular gifts. And he said, that's just sometimes annoying, loud, and basically not beneficial thing. Prophecy, knowledge, knowing mysteries, and having faith, miraculous working faith. Those are important things. But without love, nothing. And then he moves one further. Now he's talking about the persons themselves. So if you took what you had, and now I'm translating this more closely to the original Greek. If you took what you had and gave it away piece by piece. See, when I first read verse 3, I thought this is like the rich young ruler. To whom Jesus says, one thing you lack. Sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and then follow me, and you have treasure in heaven. And from when I was a child, I pictured the guy is having a huge garage sale, or just handing it all over to just selling it all at once, getting a lump sum, giving it to the poor, and then following Jesus. But what Paul is talking here in verse 3 of 1 Corinthians 13 is not a one-off thing. He says, if I gave what I own to the poor, and in Greek that means bit by bit. Here $100, there $200, there $300, there $50. Bit by bit. In other words, this is not a momentous thing. This is not a punctual, this is not a one moment event. This is a process he's talking about. It could even describe a lifestyle or an attitude of compassionate giving. So if I gave every month half of my salary, and then I decided to 90%, and there was no increase. Instead, I would lose my job, and I would be kicked out of my house, and everything is lost. That kind of thing, for the benefit of the poor. That is how I live. And having given away everything that I own, the only thing that's left now is me, the person. Now Paul is tightening it and says, okay, and that's all that's left? Well, if I gave away me. If I gave my body, it depends. There's two different types of manuscripts in Greek. So some versions say to be burned, and some say it's over to hardship, so I may boast. It doesn't matter, because what Paul is talking about is if you sacrifice yourself. having sacrificed what you have, now you sacrifice who you are. In other words, in verse 3, Paul is describing a complete self-sacrifice, starting with what you have and ending with what you are, yourself, your body. Paul says, okay, that's the biggest thing you can do, because you can only give away what you own, and you can then only sacrifice yourself. But even there, if there's no love, it profits you nothing. The poor may profit from your possessions. If you give, in one of the translations, if you give your body over to hardship, then somebody may profit from that hardship. But you, who is doing all this, but without love, profits you nothing. Just like a car without an engine is not a car. Just like rice and peas without coconut milk. It's just rice with some beans thrown together. It profits you nothing. The essential ingredient, Paul says, is love. In 2 weeks, when we look at part 2, Paul is now launching into a description of that love. But that's for in 2 weeks, when I'm back with part 2. This morning, I just want to leave us with the introduction, part 1. The essential ingredient in the Christian's life, according to Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, is not how many gifts we have. It's not how spectacular our gifts or our ministries are.
That's right.
It's not how much we know.
Right.
It's not how sacrificial we are. The essential ingredient in a Christian's life is love. Amen. And I want to emphasize this again. I said it before, I'm going to repeat this one. All these other things may be important, and they are, but they are not essential. Somebody says, but Pastor, we have to say by faith. Now remember, the faith Paul is talking about in 13 verse 2 is the one that moves mountains, not the one that saves you. To each person, there is given a measure of faith. We are all saved by faith, through grace. Hallelujah. This is not of ourselves, lest anybody should boast. This is the faith that is on top of that, where you can trust God and hold on to Him to the point where miracles happen. That kind of faith. Okay, so that we understand each other when I say that they're important, they're not essential. Paul says love is the essential ingredient. Well, if I need coconut milk in America and Jamaica, or coconut cream in England, where do I get it? Where do I get it? See, and you can't just go to any store, because I looked at it. Where I live, you go to ShopRite and you're like, excuse me, tell you coconut milk or coconut cream, and they're looking at you like, not where I live. You see, you have to go to places where there is a demand for such produce. And where I live, there isn't enough people to demand. I have to drive 20 minutes north to where my wife works. That's where you find all that stuff and more. Pepperos too. Anyway, if we don't have it, where do we get it? 1 John chapter 4, we're going to finish with this. 1 John 4 is a chapter where John reflects on the love of God. And I don't know the verse off the top of my head, but Paul, okay, well that's verse 1, and I know it's not verse 1, because that talks about prophets, Paul's prophets and that. I thought it's probably verse 9, and I know it's later on in the chapter as well. Paul says, we love because he first loved us. See, there's another verse there, verse 7. We need to love one another because love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God and knows God, is in connection and in communion with God. There you have that essential ingredient as well. God is love. So if we can't generate the essential ingredient ourselves, then we need to go to someone who does have it. And in verse 8, we just read that God is love. God is love. And later on in the chapter, he loved us. That's why we love him.
He's going by the slide. Don't go so
Not he loves us because we love. No. We love because he first loved us. So the essential ingredient of 1 Corinthians 13, without which tongues are just echoing gongs and clashing cymbals, without which prophecy, knowledge, the knowledge of mysteries, and even miracle-working faith is nothing. The kind of love without which self-sacrifice is a non-starter because it doesn't profit you. That kind of love originates not in us, but somewhere else. And that else is God. So for us to have it, we need to get in touch with the one who is it. Just like when I need coconut milk, it's not in my fridge. Oh, is that Barbara? I can't remember. Now, if there is none, then I need to go to the shop. And not where I live, I need to go to the proper shop. And maybe on the way home, I need to pick one up in Hackensack, right? I need to go to the shop where it is available. So if I don't see the love within me, then I want to go there where it is, to move to the one who says of himself that he is love. And connecting with God on that personal level. You're not approaching a presidential royal being. Royal he is, presidential he is. Yes, he's the King of Kings, he's the creator of the universe. But God is more than that. He wants us to approach him like we approach a friend. Sister White says that prayer is the opening of the heart to God as to a friend. There is this close personal element. I don't have a personal at all element with the current president, far be it from it. I don't have a personal, although some American tourists are like, oh, you're from England. Have you ever met the Queen? No, I haven't, because I don't have a personal relationship with Her Majesty Elizabeth. She lives there behind her fences and walls in Buckingham Palace or in Windsor or whatever, and bless her in her life and I live my life. But God is not like that. God wants us to have this close relationship, friendship with him, where I can tell him everything, and he's closer to me than my brother is to me. And I can look at what he's already done. How much he values us human beings. Not as just a big lump of humanity. You know, how many billions on this planet now? No. He knows the exact contours of your fingerprint. God can, like this, rattle down all the genes in your genome. All 46 chromosomes. There's nobody like that else on the planet. And even if there is like fraternal twins, identical twins, they share the same, they have the same genetic makeup, but their fingerprints are different. God knows each one of us. And when he thinks of any one of us, he is impressed. because we are human. Humans that he created. Humans for which he laid down his life. Humans with which he wants to spend eternity. That's why he laid down his life, because he likes us, he loves us. We mean that much to him. And when I realize that extent of love that God has for me, that extent of self-sacrificing, self-disinterest for me, there is a reaction. He loved, John says, because he first loved us. That is the reaction. So, you see, what Paul describes in Corinthians 13, verses 1, 2, and 3, are people who really don't know God. And still, it may just be what do you call this? When it's not real. No, not a fantasy. It may just be an abstract illustration. He may have just said, imagine it. Suppose you have tongues but no love. Suppose you have faith, knowledge, prophecy without love. Suppose you are self-sacrificing without love. Just imagining that this may be possible. Maybe that's not even possible. So how can you be self-sacrificing and not have love? Paul says, if God is not in that picture, meaning there is no love, then it's all worthless. So if God is not in my picture, with my degrees and with my position as a pastor, if God is not in my picture, with a code of conduct, with whatever you want to put into your picture, if God is not in the picture, do what they did with that Banksy painting the other day. Banksy is a famous anonymous artist, and there was an auction in London, and the picture was there on the wall. It was a little girl with a balloon, with a heart-shaped balloon. All his famous drawings, and it was in a big, thick frame. And there was an anonymous bidder on the phone. It went up to over £1 million. It's like $1.5 million. $1.5 million. Okay, going, gone. And as the hammer fell, the picture started to descend into the frame. There was hidden in the frame a shredder. And as the picture had been sold, the picture was shredded. Now, it wasn't a shredder that I had, but these tiny little, it was almost old school, just easy with strips. So if you want to Google it sometime, there's a picture, a photo of it, where half of the painting is hanging here in cut into stripes. And now I forgot why I started this. It was a really good illustration. It was a really good illustration, and I can't remember what I gave. Anyway. Yes, without love, if God is not in it, then it's worthless. Worthless. So make sure that your picture has God in it. That's it. Because if God is not in it, it's like that Banksy painting. I mean, it may now be worth 10 million because it's been shredded by the great artist Banksy who fooled us all with the shredder in it. If God is not in the picture, it's worthless. It's worthless. No matter how wonderful you think it is, it's like a car without engine. It has a beautiful body, beautiful paintwork, but when you lift the hood, emptiness. It's not a car, it doesn't have an engine. So I encourage us to invite God to be part of our picture, to confirm that he still is part of our picture, and to allow him to make the essential ingredients, the essential and first ingredient of our Christian life. So that when people look at you, they don't say, there's one of those crazy Christians. No, they will say, there's a really nice, loving person who's also a Christian. Because that's how I would like to be known. A really nice, loving person. Because without love, just a clanging cymbal, an echoing gong, nothing. But with love, everything. May God bless you today as you get close to him and be filled with his love.